Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we are going to install Fedora 36 beta. Now I'm not going to go too much in depth about the beta because the features are GNOME 42 and some other things which I'm going to look more in depth when Fedora 36 is going to be released. But in this specific video I'm going to show you how you can install it with a specific btrfs structure so that you can install Timeshift on it. And that's because being a beta, I think it's extremely important that when you install updates, if something is not working, you can roll back to previous snapshots. Now, Fedora uses a specific structure for subvolumes when it's installed by default. So in this video, I'm going to adjust this a little bit so that you can install Timeshift and work with it. So without too much talking, let's jump into the installation. So in this video, guys, we are going to install Fedora 36 beta. This was released just yesterday, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can install it, of course with the btrfs file system. This is default in Fedora now since version 34, I believe. And in this video I'm going to show you actually how you can install it using a different btrfs structure so that you can install also Timeshift with it. So Timeshift, as you probably already know, it's a backup or a snapshot utility to take snapshots of your system where you can revert to previous snapshots if something goes wrong after an update. Now, the problem is Fedora normally uses the btrfs file system with two subvolumes named in a specific way. One is called root and the other one home. Now, the problem is that Timeshift actually needs to have two subvolumes named following the Ubuntu style, and that means for root it should be used with the @symbol, and for the home subvolume it should be used the @home name. So the problem is in Fedora 35, 36 we have the root subvolume which is called root, not with the @symbol, and that's going to pose a problem with Timeshift. So what we are going to do in this video, we are going to install Fedora 36 beta with this structure, and we're going to install also Timeshift. Now, Fedora 36 beta comes now with some new things. Of course, it includes the GNOME 42 desktop environment. We are talking about Fedora workstation here. Now, I've done a video about GNOME 42, which was still a release candidate. Now, GNOME 42 has been released on March 25, but it's not yet available on any distribution except, I think, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, which offers now GNOME 42. Now, on Arch is still not available, but it should be coming soon. Now, GNOME 42 offers some new UI tweaks and some new apps. You can watch a video about GNOME 42 that I've done, and I'm going to do a full review about it when it's going to be available on Arch. We have some other updates for Silverblue and Kinoite, which are the versions of Fedora using the libOS3 and RPM integration. This new version of Fedora has a new var subvolume for new installs, which, as it says here, makes handling snapshots of dynamic data easier to manage. We have also one of the spins, the LXQT spin, which is now using the upstream version 1, which was released a few weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. And we have also by default here, Wayland also on NVIDIA cards. Now, I don't have one to test this out, so let me know if you have one. Let me know how it's working for you. We have some new updates also for systemd here, which now includes the unit names in the output, so you can easily understand what services are starting and stopping. And of course, we have updates for programming languages and other libraries. Now, this is of course beta software, so expect some bugs here. That's why Fedora is writing here. Testing is needed, and of course, they need also feedback. So if you're testing this out, make sure that you give feedback to the devs. Now, I already prepared here a virtual machine so that we can test this out. So let me switch to it. And let's start here the ISO. Now, you just have to download the ISO from the Fedora website. I will leave a link to it in the video description below. And it's going to take a moment here to put up the virtual machine. And so here we are in Fedora 36 on the installer. So let's put up here the installer. And I'm going to choose the language, in this case English, and click continue. So this is unstable pre-release software. You need to be aware of this. So I want to proceed. And I'm going to select here my keyboards because I don't have a US keyboard here. So I'm just going to select mine and click add. And I'm going to remove the English keyboard here and then click done. Now the time zone is fine because it's already detected. I have an Ethernet connection here, you can see. So if you have Wi-Fi, you can go up here and select your Wi-Fi network here and you will be connected to the internet as well. Now on the installation here, we are going to click here on system and I'm going to click here custom and then click done. this is going to open up basically the partitioner. Now I'm going to use the btrfs file system. That's fine. So I'm just going to create the subvolumes automatically. And by default, Fedora is going to create a EFI partition because it detects that I have a UEFI machine. It creates a legacy boot partition here. This is standard. And it creates also a root subvolume and a home subvolume. Now, the thing here is I want to change the name of this subvolume. I'm going to go down here and replace this root with the @ symbol. And I'm going to do the same here for the home subvolume. I'm going to add here the @ symbol as well. And this is all actually I need to do here. I could change also the name of the volume, but that's fine for me. I don't need to change this right now. So I can click done. And I'm going to accept the changes here. And now I'm going to click begin installation. So this is all there is to it. So I'm just going to pause the video here, guys, until the installation is done. And I'm going to be back at you once it's finished. So the installation is now complete. We can click finish installation here. And I'm going to reboot the machine, restart. It's going to take a moment here and we will reboot our machine again. So here we are on a Gnome 42 and let's start a setup here. We need to set up our machine. So I'm going to accept the defaults here and click next. And yes, I'm going to enable third-party repositories and click next. I'm going to skip online accounts and create my user and click next. And set my password here and retype it. And then click next again and start using Fedora Linux. And we are now on Gnome 42. Now, before exploring this a little bit more, I'm going to click no thanks here. I'm going to pull up the terminal and go full screen and increase the font size so you can see better. So let me type in here cat/etc/fstab. So you can see here, maybe this is too big. You can see here we have our btrfs subvolumes. Now the names are now correct. We have the root subvolume called with the @ symbol and the home subvolume at home. Now what is missing for me here are the options for btrfs. So I'm going to add them in. So to do this, I'm going to type in sudo nano/etc/fstab. I'm going to authenticate, of course, and I'm going to go down to the first subvolume here. And I'm going to add some of the options. So the first option is the compress option. I'm going to add compression for ZSTD. I'm going to add also no access time, no A time. This is going to improve access time of the speed of the disk. Now I'm going to add also the space cache option. And now be careful here because if you don't add the version 2, exactly like it happens on Arch, it's not going to boot up the machine. I'm not sure why this is happening. I didn't have the time yet to investigate a little deeper in here, but you need to use the version 2, otherwise the machine will hang at boot. At least this was in my experience. I'm going to add also here the SSD option. I would recommend this if you have an SSD. And if you do have an SSD, I would also add here the discard equal async option to improve the performance of the SSD. And I think this is going to be fine. So I'm going to do the same also for the home subvolume. So compress equal ZSTD and no A time and also space cache equal version 2 and SSD and also discard equal async. And that's also done. So what we need to do now, we can actually save the file with Ctrl-O and enter to save the file and Ctrl-X to exit the editor. And I want to actually reboot the machine once for these changes to take effect. So I'm going to type in reboot. And if everything went well, the system should boot up just fine. And as you can see, it boots up fine. So we can enter the password here. And if I type the password correctly, it's better. And now it boots back into the desktop. So let me pull up here the settings, first of all, and let me show you here where we are. We are here on Fedora 36. This is, as you can see here, Gnome 42 beta is not yet the final version on Fedora 36. It's going to be released, I believe, in April with the final version of Gnome 42. We are using Wayland by default here. Now, if I open up the terminal, there are already tons of updates for the system. So I will not do this now, otherwise it's going to take too long. But you can see we have already the new UI here in GNOME 42. We have the straight line here on the top bar. It's not anymore with the rounded corners. We have also here in the settings, let me pull them up again, also some new options. For example, if we go under appearance here, we have the dark and light option that appears right here. So I'm going to select dark, for example. Now, this is something which is happening, I believe, because I am on a virtual machine. It's not displaying properly here the wallpapers, but that's fine for now. And we have also, as I showed also in the GNOME 42 video, the new screenshot tool here, which is going to take screenshots and screencasts of the display. So you can choose here between screenshot and screencast. Now, because this is beta software, I would say it's very important also to install, in my case, Timeshift. So I'm going to open up the terminal here and go full screen. And I'm going to type in here sudo dnf install Timeshift. And hit enter. Need to authenticate. And it's going to check the repositories the first time. So you can see we have Timeshift here, so we can install it. It's going to take a moment to do this. It's not a big package and it's already done. So we can close the terminal. And now if I open up Timeshift, you can see we have it there. So we need to authenticate and we can configure it. So it's using the btrfs file system. That's fine. Now the disk we have, it's the correct one. This is the only one I have here. This is actually the ZRAM. I'm going to show you this afterwards. And for the schedule, it's going to be okay for me. Queue groups is active, that's fine. So I'm going to click next and now click finish. So I'm going to take a snapshot of my system. You can see it works fine. So we can close this up. So open up the terminal again. We have, of course, the ZRAM, LSBLK. So you can see here we are using 8 GB of swap with ZRAM. This is now standard on Fedora and it's nice to have. Now, if I type in here sudo dnf update and authenticate, now you can see we have already tons of updates here. We have about 1 GB downloads, and that's because we have always newer packages. You can see, for example, the kernel is going to be upgraded to 17.1, and the reason is because Fedora 36 beta is using actually the 5.17 kernel. This is the newest kernel, which has been also released on Arch just a few days ago. So we have tons of updates already on Fedora 36 beta, and if you want to try this out, definitely be up to date here. Install Timeshift. If you have any problem with updates, you can always roll back to a previous snapshot. Now, this was just a quick video to show you how you can install Fedora 36 beta using then Timeshift to snapshot the system and roll back snapshots if you need to do this. I'm going to do a full review of Fedora 36 once it's available in April. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Let me know in the comments below if you have any question. So this is Fedora 36 beta with a special installation with the btrfs file system and its subvolume so that you can install Timeshift. I hope this was useful for you guys. As I said, a Fedora 36 review, it's gonna come when Fedora 36 is going to be released in April. So if you try this out, let me know in the comments below how it's working for you. And if you have any question, let me know in the comments below. I will try to answer you as soon as I can. Thank you very much for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.